Okay, the following is a video over zero point 0.5 notes, and these are linear equations, and we'll be solving linear equations. This is probably the most important thing that the thing that you'll learn in algebra that you'll need to come to geometry with. So the one thing I want to talk about are things called opposites, okay? And we've got a few things I want to talk about. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. Okay, consequently, the opposite of subtraction is addition. Okay, so they go both ways. Um, so if I were to say the opposite of multiplication, that would be division. Okay, and the opposite of division would obviously be multiplication. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to mainly be using um, to solve linear equations. In order to move things from one side of the equation to the other, we have to do the opposite of what it's doing. Okay, so let's take a look at our first example. And so what we want to do, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the value of x that makes this equation true. Okay, so if I have x minus 7 is equal to 16, in order to find out what x is, you can think of this as, okay, what number, take a number, subtract 7 from it, and you get 16, what's that number? Okay, and the way you can figure that out is simply just by adding 7 to both sides, okay, doing the opposite of what it's telling me. It's subtracting 7, so in order to move it to the other side, I have to add 7, okay, so negative 7 plus 7, that goes away, and you're left with x is equal to 16 plus 7, which is 23. So x is equal to 23. And so then you can check that by substituting 23 in for x and doing the math. Okay, so if I take 23 minus 7, do I get 16? Okay, 23 minus 7 is 16. 16 equals 16. That is a true statement. That works. Okay, so this is a solution. All right, so this is something that we kind of got to be able to do quickly. Let's look at part B. So if I have m plus 12 is equal to negative 5, if I simply subtract 12 from both sides, okay, 12 minus 12, that goes away. I'm left with m equals negative 5 minus 12, which gives me negative 17. Okay, and that's my value for m. Over here, k plus 31 gives us 10. All right, I'm going to subtract 31 from both sides. And so I end up getting that k is equal to 10 minus 31, that's negative 21. Okay? And that's what k is equal to. So pretty simple on those. These are things that, I kind of assume that you guys come into class knowing, but we're going to make sure we go over it. Okay? All right. On these, we're doing either multiplication or division to solve these equations. Okay? Now, when you see this, 4d is equal to 36. Okay, you could rewrite this, maybe it makes sense for you. 4 times d is equal to 36. Okay, since I'm multiplying by 4, I want to do the opposite of multiplying by 4, and that's divide by 4 on both sides. So divide by 4. The 4's divide out to 1, and you're left with d is equal to, now 36 divided by 4, that gives me 9. So d is equal to 9. Okay, now over here, I'm going to rewrite it so I've got a little bit of room for this. But I've got negative t over 8 is equal to negative 7. Now this means I have some number t divided by 8 gives me negative 7. Okay? So what I want to do in order to move this to the other side, okay, and this is something that a lot of us struggle with, is we want to multiply by negative 8. Okay? So the negatives, if I multiply two negatives, I get a positive, so those go away. And then 8 divided by 8, that divides out to 1. But I want to do this to the other side. I want to multiply by negative 8 on both sides. And so I get this. I get t is equal to positive 56. Okay? And this one you may want to check. This one's kind of weird. Okay? If I plug this one back into my equation, I'm going to get negative, I'm going to put 56 up here, divided by 8. Does that give me negative 7? And it does. Okay, if I take negative 56 divided by 8, I get negative 7 equals negative 7. Negative 56 divided by 8 gives me negative 7, and that's equal to negative 7. So that's true. Okay. All right, now this last one's a little tricky. I'm going to rewrite it over here. I'm going to say 3/5 times x is equal to -8. Now what I'm going to do, let me rewrite this so it's a little bit cleaner. 3/5 x is equal to -8. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 3/5. I'm going to multiply this by 5/3. So you just want to flip the fraction and multiply. I'm going to do that over here, 5/3. Okay, so then what I get is there's a number of ways to think about this. The 5s can divide out to 1, the 3s can divide out to 1. In any case, when you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, you get 1, which leaves you with x, okay? Now I have this, okay? And if I multiply fractions, this is -8/1 times 5/3. I'm just going to multiply across. So I've got -8 times 5, which gives me -40, and then 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, and that's my answer, -40/3. Okay, now that can be written as a decimal. Well, we're just going to leave it as a fraction. Remember, guys, fractions are your friend. Okay, they're always going to be there for you. Okay, and it's okay to have answers like this. Okay, it's completely in math. You're not always going to have nice even numbers that that work out. Okay, typically you'll have a fraction every now and then. Okay. Let's take a look at example 3. These are multi-step linear equations. Now what I want to do is my job is to isolate my variable. So I'm going to move everything else over and then try and isolate this q. Okay, so first I have this -15 here. I'm just going to move that over first. So I'm going to add 15 to both sides. Okay, so I get 8q. All right, and this goes away. So now I've got 49 plus 15. That's going to end up giving me, what is that, 64? Okay? And then if I divide by 8 and divide by 8 over here, that's what I want to do next. And so then I get q is equal to 8. All right? And that's my answer. Now over here, this is the type of problem that you're really going to see a lot of, where you have a variable on the left side and a variable on the right side of the equal sign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move and combine my like terms first. I'm going to subtract 6y from both sides. Okay, and I can only combine that with the one that has the y. It doesn't combine with the 8. Okay, so 6y minus 6y becomes 0. And I end up getting 12y minus 6y. That's going to give me 6y. And then plus 8, and that's equal to -5. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 8 now from both sides. Isolate my y, move all the numbers over, and I'm going to get 6y is equal to -13, okay? And then I'm going to divide by 6, and so my value for y is equal to -13/6, okay? And that's what y is equal to. All right, let's do one more. And this is another multi-step equation. Now this I have to use the distributive property, okay? And I know I have to do that when I see a 3 on a number on the outside of the parentheses, and I'm going to multiply that 3 by each of the numbers on the inside, okay? So I'm going to do 3 times x, which just gives me 3x, and then minus 3 times 5, which gives me 15, and that's equal to 13, okay? So if I distribute that 3x, and then 3 times -5 gives me -15. I'm going to add 15 to both sides now. All right? Isolate my variable, and so I get 3x is equal to 13 plus 15, which gives me 28. Okay? And then I'm going to divide everything by 3. My 3's divide out here, and then I'm left with x is equal to 28/3. Okay, so I know I did this kind of quick, guys, but this is solving equations is the one absolute necessity of being successful in geometry. Okay, you really need to be able to do this because we're going to do this all the time. I really hope that you enjoyed this video because I had an absolute blast making it. Thank you.